Welcome to Yacht Femme, where we talk about the women that make the yachting industry. I'm your host, Andrea Tagliaferro. Learn who they are, how they got into yachting, and what they do today. Meet Danielle McLaren, the Managing Director of Yotspot, the industry's leading yachting jobs platform. Based in Southampton, UK, she drives strategy, marketing, operations, and team growth. Since joining in 2020, she's led Yotspot's expansion through tech innovations and global partnerships. Everyone, welcome back to Yacht Femme. I am here with Danielle McLaren from Yotspot. She is the managing director there. I'm very excited. We actually had to push this meetings a few times. Everyone in the industry has been so busy, and I am so excited. We actually got to meet in person in Palm Beach, and now we're here, and we cannot wait to dive into your background and what it is that you do at Yotspot. So thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, let's get into it and tell us a little about who you are and where you're from and what do you do in yachting?
Yeah, okay. So Danielle McLaren, I'm from Southampton in the UK, currently working for Yotspot. I'm the managing director of Yotspot, so I have responsibility for the overall business, everything from people to sales numbers, and everything that sits in between.
So, how did you find your way into that job role or the yachting industry in itself?
Okay, yeah, I've got a bit of an interesting path in. So I've never worked aboard myself. I've actually only been in the industry for 3 years. And I was actually approached to work for Yotspot by Daryl, who's one of the founders of the business. So they were looking to take the business to the next level about 3 years ago. It had become sort of too big for the management structure that they had in place, which was the founder and co-founder. And he was actually a school friend of mine. So we'd always remained in touch and had the same kind of group of friends since leaving school, although that was quite a few years ago now. So yeah, he asked me if I would be interested in joining. And yeah, the rest is history.
Well, I want to say like the value of networking, but I think that's out of our reach. Like if we can go back to what we did in high school or kindergarten or whatever it is.
The value of keeping those networks, I think, because I do think that friends are, one of your most important networks, absolutely, for personal life and for business sometimes. So, yeah.
And it comes up so much how to maintain those relationships. I'm sure, yes, you may be in Southampton, you may have people there locally, but it's being such an international industry, keeping in touch with people that you need to network and connect with all over the world becomes a little bit hard. And I'm forever thankful for social media. At least I get keep tabs on like how people have evolved, so I can chime in and be part of their lives. But yeah, networking. Can you describe your job role? Basically, a day in the life.
Yeah, day in the life. So essentially, I manage and direct everything that the business does. So we're still like a very small team at this moment. We're under 10 permanent employees, although we do have a lot of outsourced partners as well. So I have direct involvement with everything. So, for example, a day in the life for me could be involvement in the marketing side of things to ensure that our paid campaigns are performing well and driving sales and conversions. Or I might work with the team to ensure that social media is being fully optimized. We're very much on that journey at the moment. And we're trying lots of things. I've got a great head of marketing and marketing manager that do most of the doing and thinking, but I give my sort of input and opinion. I look after the majority of the business finances, from revenue reporting, whether that's weekly, monthly, yearly, to some credit control work as well. Again, with the help of a fantastic accountant and with the two business founders. And then I lead on all of the HR stuff as well. Again, a great partner in place. But there always seems to be things to do, even if it's a basic, approval of holiday request. All of that sort of sits with me, and the resource planning for the team, and trips, and which team members are attending, and the sort of juggling of that. And then, yeah, I kind of make the decisions, or at least I'm the strategist, I suppose, for the majority of our shows and events and business trips. So I decide, with obviously the input of the team, which ones we're going to go to, what events we're going to do there, what logistics need planning and booking. And yes, at some of those shows, I also represent Yotspot as well. So very small snapshot. But yeah, multi-skilled and a multitasker, I think I would say I was.
Well, in a small company, it definitely, you have to wear multiple hats, but
Yeah.
you are covering so much. So how did you prepare for a role like this?
Interesting. Yeah. I think my career thus far, so I've had some absolutely amazing jobs, amazing bosses, and amazing teams. And I've also had some really bad experiences as well. So I think in my time, I've really learned a lot about HR, whether it's from me managing people or from me being on the receiving end of bad management and bad HR practices. So I think I've got a really good understanding, and I'm a very curious person by nature. I ask a lot of questions. I'm very observant. So I think for stuff that I hadn't done directly, I'd always picked it up, and I'd always, in my previous roles, been quite close to whoever was running the business, from a nosiness point of view, probably as well, but also because I'm just interested in business and that kind of thing. So I think I've been really fortunate to have good insight in my previous employers as to what makes a successful business, and some really, good examples of great leadership and mentors in a way that have enabled me to do this. But I must shout out my two founders that essentially gave me a chance. This is my first role as an MD, and I absolutely am very clear that I don't know all of the answers. I've got a great team around me, both above and below in terms of the hierarchy, and we really do work as a team. Teamwork is so important to us. It's a massive culture indicator for us. So yeah, we really rely on that to make the business function.
Oh, thank you for the very in-depth answer there. Um, uh, yeah, we always learn more from mistakes or people that don't know how to actually manage us. But I love that you say HR, and you mention it all so often. It's a huge issue, I think, in the yachting industry. I've heard it multiple times because you have these boats that become little companies, but they don't really have HR on board. So it's definitely something that I hear in their ecosystems. They're always trying to figure out how to best manage and how to create a yacht culture. And I'm happy that this seems to be more top of mind, at least the conversations I've had. The
Yeah.
not company culture, but the culture inside the yacht. And with that in mind, I wanted to learn more about your company. So can you tell me actually what does Yacht Spot do, and even a background at what it is to work in that company?
Yeah. So we are the leading jobs board for the yachting industry. So essentially, our role is a website that connects employers with crew. So it's a large database. Crew are able to create a profile and upload their CV to attach to their profile. And then employers, whether that's the boats directly, management companies, or recruitment agencies, have employer profiles to then be able to post roles and search crew. So in terms of how we operate, we're technology based, and we are the middleman, and we're transacting a connection essentially. We don't operate like a recruitment agency, so we don't do contracts. We don't get involved in the logistics of getting somebody there to a certain day. That's very much for the employers to handle directly, and that's kind of why we have such a great relationship with the recruitment agencies as well, because they are our customers. So we're not in direct competition with them. So that's essentially what we do. And on a day-to-day basis, my team are involved with the optimization of those roles. So if an employer posts a role on our website, but it's maybe hasn't got enough detail on it, or they haven't put correct criteria on that they're able to filter on later, or maybe it's a particularly hard to fill role that they're really struggling with, then my client success team looks after that side of things. From the crew side, we also do profile reviews. So we try to like optimize our data from that side of things as well. So we really encourage crew to make sure their profiles are fully up to date. We tell them the reasons why, which is based around the algorithm and being found. There's lots and lots of stuff that goes into that takes up a lot of our time as well. So we do it from that angle. And then there's also, compliance stuff as well, in relation to reference checking, and that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, but that's it in a nutshell, I would say.
And how many people are in the company? Also about the culture of what it is to how it is
Yeah.
there.
So at the moment we're 9 that are directly, and then we have got the network of outsourcers that I mentioned. So anything that we don't have in house, we outsource to external providers. And I'm very proud to say that all of our outsourcers that exist currently, bar one actually, have been with us for sort of 3 years plus. So certainly for all of my tenure, and some of them were before my tenure as well. So yeah, very trusted and relied upon people that help make Yotspot what it is today, that we very much appreciate.
Um, wow, I think you guys do so much. How long has Jotspot been in business now?
Yeah, so it's around 15 years or so. So yeah, it was the original idea creation was from our founder Steve, who basically was frustrated in the way that he was looking for work aboard boats at a time. He actually sort of mapped down his idea as to how to improve that process, and literally drew out the website, and it doesn't really look that dissimilar to how it does today, which is amazing. And then yeah, the additional founder Daryl came on board, and together they grew it. And then, like I said, it was about 3 years ago that it got to a shape and size that they were like, wow, okay, we need some help here. And then they bought me, and then I've hired after that.
I was gonna say it's just when I think of JobSpot, I think of some company that's very well established. So that's why
Yeah,
I wanted to gauge how long have you been around, because it doesn't seem like it's starting out, even though it's a small entity that you're
I would agree
strong.
with that. Yeah, and I think we must praise sort of the work they did before I joined, in terms of getting the brand name out there. So they really had worked hard over that 10, 12 years to really push that brand name, and make it synonymous with looking for jobs in yachting. So actually, when I came aboard, there wasn't really any sort of brand positioning that I needed to do, because everybody knew about it. It was just kind of figuring out how we took that to the next level. So yeah, they'd done the hard part for me over that period of time. And yeah, I think that's why we've also been able to maintain our position today, because our numbers are just so strong and our database is so large, that we absolutely have to build and improve upon that for sure. But the base was already there, which was very critical.
Yeah, but even if it is a well-established branding, not only yachting is changing all the time, more technology is coming in, more people are understanding digital marketing and actually how to find people. And like you kept saying, optimizing. And in my head, when you said optimizing resumes, I thought of all these amazing educators right now focus on crew to help them cater the best story of what they do. And actually, I think you were mentioning is how to optimize it for the search engine so you are actually found. So it was a different thing. And it's great that you have found a niche where you seem to not be in competition, but just be such a great resource for both sides of the equation. So I'm guessing that your biggest target audience are the crew, and I guess crew agencies or the yachts directly.
So it's a mix. We have a real mix. So our main customer base is what we call employers, which is the yachts, the management companies, and the recruitment agencies. And all three use us. And, sometimes you might even have the same vessel, the same management company, and the same recruitment agency for one boat, all using Yotspot to find their crew. In terms of volume, we obviously have a higher number of boats than we do management companies or crew agents, because there's more that exist in the world. So that's that's just an indication of the market size, I suppose, in the businesses that exist. And yeah, in terms of the crew side of things, we're just shy, I think, of 150,000 crew at the moment. So really big number. Yeah, so we also, still work hard to make sure that we are getting crew register all the time. The great thing about, talking about the brand and it being so well known is we kind of are the, the baseline for if a greenie is coming into the industry, they register with Yotspot. It's kind of just a given. So we're fortunate for that. But that's happened because we have become almost like the single source of data for all of those management companies and recruitment agencies, because actually, a lot of recruitment agencies would have their own database, but in a competitive industry such as yachting, from a crew's point of view, a crew member doesn't necessarily want to update their CV profile on maybe the 10 recruitment agencies that they use. So actually, it's a lot easier for them to update Yotspot and then for the crew agents to draw that information from us. So that's why the recruitment agencies aren't our competition, but they're our customers. We coexist. And I mentioned, I think, the word coexist earlier. We coexist very happily. We've got some crew agents that we've worked with for sort of 10 plus years. And I really feel like there's a space for the boats directly to use us, but then also to use their preferred crew agent. It's exactly like if you were recruiting in a business. You make the decision based on the time and the budget that you have available, and whether you need help.
I don't know if this happens to you, but at least when it's not about yachting, we definitely have Indeed and other multiple platforms to get to land a new job.
Yeah.
But still, almost all of them now have a space in the form to add the link to your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
So they still recognize that, yeah, you may have curated this resume for us for the specific job role, but over there, that will be the main source of truth,
Yes.
where you have all your details of like your past job roles and also like how engaged you are on the platform. So for those that are not using LinkedIn, if you're not in yachting, it is actually, or like not crew, but land-based yachting, LinkedIn is still one that you want to make sure that
Yeah.
you have fill. And the same as you're describing, the ones that are looking for potential candidates are using the algorithms that LinkedIn provides. So if you're not optimizing your profile with specific keywords, the right people are not going to find you. Even if you have the best way to tell the story, there's still the specific words that trigger certain events for them in the back end to actually find you. So it's a little bit more strategic than people actually think about it. Um, Actually, this is quite cool. I didn't know that this much about Yotspot, so I'm kind of fascinated that you're the central database there.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, that we were talking about changes, you always have to be marketing because you have new crew always coming on board. Um, what changes have you seen in the yachting industry in your career?
Yeah, so in my short time here, I think the biggest change that I've seen is many more open discussions about mental health. And I've just seen that in 3 short years. When I joined, people didn't really talk about it. And now it's become like, a real buzzword over the last couple of years, which is really, pleasing to me. I'm a big advocate for correct mental health support, both privately and in your work life. So, it's great to see that. And it's great to see, some key leaders in the industry sort of standing up and talking about what they're doing or supporting various charities. And I think when I first joined, it was kind of people talking about, people were driving awareness of mental health, I think, and the challenges. Whereas now I don't feel like we have to do that. We all understand why it needs to be talked about, why it's important, and the sort of awareness driving piece I feel has been done, but it's more moving over now to what are the actions, and either that's the actions for the boats or the employers, to make sure that they're looking after their crew and their staff, and it's the action on, you know, how that money is raised, or how that funding, or how that therapy, or whatever it is that you require is actually going to happen. So it's kind of great to see more of that as well.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think about it much before. Of course, when COVID hit and everyone's talking because
Mhm.
they can't contain it anymore, it's
Yeah,
interesting. Even if you thought that you were doing well, when people start
yeah,
describing certain things, you're like, I actually have that as well.
yeah, yeah,
I got really good at identifying burnout because I experienced it so many times last year. And that's
yes,
just the tip of the iceberg of obviously of mental health. But like you're saying, I think it's really good to see that awareness is there. And now people are pivoting into educational courses. There's
yeah,
tons of people that are advocates with now, if they weren't certified, they're actually getting certified to make sure
that's
that
right.
they're
Yeah,
the
yeah,
message is actually delivered in a very safe way because it's definitely
yeah,
very a delicate subject.
yeah.
So I'm very happy about that one as well.
Yeah, I think I don't know if you can sort of edit this in, but I think it's also important to mention that we do really practice what we preach here. And actually, one of my objectives when I was looking at the HR and the culture stuff was actually we really need to be supporting our staff's mental health, and that isn't just saying, you know, you can take a day off if you are suffering in the same way you would as if you had flu. So one of my initiatives was for Yotspot to pay for 6 sessions, for our team to take a CPT therapy,
Oh, that's
um,
great.
and they can take that within business hours. They're paid for fully by Yotspot, and then if they wish to continue further from the 6 hours, they're self-funded, but they can take them within work time. So that was just one thing that we've done, which I'm really proud of that, because I think that's leading by example. I hope, and it's been popular with us.
Yeah, I don't see who wouldn't take advantage of this, even if you don't have a crisis moment, who doesn't want to actually talk and vent and go deep
Yeah.
into something, any issue. But you also mentioned before we started this about how you're also thinking about mental health when you're talking about the event calendar. I
Mhm.
think it may not be a therapy session, but it really helps a lot if you have someone in a leadership position thinking about how it takes a toll on us or on your
Yes.
employees when you're going to so many events back to back.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a great sign of awareness that you have for your
Yeah.
team. So,
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it takes a toll on me, so why would I think that it wouldn't take a toll on my staff? And I think that, yeah, you have to be very mindful of the balance, and also just how exhausting these events are. So it's not always just the trip. If you're there for the week, it's the build up to the trip. It's sorting the stuff out at home that you need to sort to be able to do the trip, and then it's also the return when you're exhausted, but you've got the inbox that you haven't been able to get to for a week, and you know, all of your washing and the other stuff that's just waiting for you. So I don't think we should think about the trip in isolation. I think we should think about the whole period, and making sure that you've got enough time before and after to kind of, you know, ground yourself again. And we just talk really openly about it at Yotspot. I asked the team, you know, their feedback after the trip. Do they, you know, what went well, what didn't go well, and we talk openly about what the next 6 months is looking like for the event calendar and who's going to do what and how we make sure it's balanced. um yeah, that's really important.
so my family and friends tell me all the time it's not like you were saying, not just the event itself, but it's you're talking about it and prepping before, then you're gone, and then when you get back, it's
Yeah,
like you haven't decompressed from it, so it's definitely a lot
exactly.
longer. Something that I heard about, I don't know if other companies actually practice this, is that when they travel in a team, they make sure that the position when they're
Yeah,
flying in a plane, when they're on the plane traveling. they sit many rows up in front or behind them. So the person that's stuck next to them doesn't feel like they now have to entertain the boss. And this happened to me recently. I was with the people that I was trying with
Yeah.
workforce at MIBA, and I was now sitting on, sure, thankfully it was a very short flight. It was like an hour and a half flight that I was with the leader of the group. And I kept thinking, oh my God, I have to so entertain this person. I have like an hour and a half. It felt like I was in an interview and
Yeah.
making sure that he was smiling and arrived in a good mood for the rest of the team. So
Yeah.
until I was like sat next to him because I worked by myself, I didn't understand how much pressure it was. And then I also heard that when it comes to hotels, they book people and make sure that they're at different floors.
Okay.
And I thought it was like, well, yeah, if you come home late or early or whatever, I would imagine running into your hotel room to make sure that, like your boss is not like
Yeah.
there's certain levels of privacy that you want to keep and you're all traveling together. So um,
Yeah.
I thought those two were interesting when it came to giving.
Yeah.
So
They're great. So we do the flight one. We never sit next to each other, even if it's a small flight. And that's something that I implement and we all stick to and quite enjoy. And I don't do the hotel room one, but that is very interesting. But um we do like solo dinners and like solo breakfasts and stuff. And
that's nice.
yeah, I'm the biggest advocate for that, particularly in the shows that are like a week, we make the decision as to what night is going to be a get together and what other nights you just want to go on your own. And I am the one that's in the restaurant with my baseball cap on and my shorts and t-shirt, like just being like, nobody talk to me. And not just my colleagues, but also the other industry people that are staying in the hotel, and those people that know me get that now and understand it's not, rudeness. It's just I need the time to decompress. So I'll like wave as I'm walking past, but won't be stopping for a chat every time, or won't be in the bar every night either. But if people want to do that, that's absolutely their choice. But yeah, you just need your own time sometimes, don't you? Particularly when it's such an intense trip.
Yes, yes, you do. I think of that when I'm sharing an Airbnb or something with someone. Is it how intense is this show? Can I allow myself to have someone in my space?
Mm,
Because their level of energy when they get back to the room, it will never be exactly the same because we're all
yeah,
obviously different. So when I just need to just stare at the wall and they want to talk about like how was your day? I was like, can I tell you when I get back? Like when this
yeah,
was done, I will tell you how my Wednesday
yeah.
was. But
I'll give you my day 4 review next week. Yeah,
and I'm just thinking this was an hour that I could have been sleeping. So
yeah.
yeah, these are also so important, even though we're going into mental health. So since you've been in the yachting industry, or maybe even in management, is there your proudest day or like a big accomplishment that you can share with us?
Yeah, so I think firstly, getting the job, I'm very proud of that. As I mentioned before, it was my first MD role, so very proud to be asked, and I'm very proud of where we've got the business in the last 3 years. And then also a day that sort of is relevant to the company and the team more than myself was a day that springs to mind in Antigua. We just had a really seamless sales process where we did a demo to a customer or a prospect at the time that didn't know us, did the demo, felt that it went really well. It was actually my client service, head of client service that did the demo. She did an amazing demo. I was really proud when we walked off the boat, and then the customer signed up that afternoon, and then they hired the crew member that they were looking for, like within a couple of days. So the captain was absolutely thrilled. I was absolutely thrilled. And yeah, it was just a really, really seamless demo to sign up that I was really, really proud of. I'm really proud of the team that supported that.
That's great. That's an easy way to show confidence in you for future.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sometimes we work really hard, we get something that's amazing, but it was like in 2 years in the making. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great case study. Um, where do you see yachting going?
Yeah, I think probably I see more tech being used, as in a tech-based business. It's probably an obvious answer for me. But when I joined yachting, I was quite surprised to see it quite further. It was a bit further behind in its adoption of tech than other industries I'd worked in, particularly from sort of a marketing standpoint. So I think that we'll see more and better use of it, which will be really good. And I think we'll also see AI functionality developing and being used. We've used it at Yotspot for a while, but we've added it into different parts of the business now. We're kind of layering it in. And I do think that other companies, if they're not doing so already, will certainly start considering that this isn't going to go away. It's kind of like a adopt or get left behind, I think, over the next few years.
Can you tell me something that we don't know? And I always phrase this as something I cannot find of you on LinkedIn.
I love great white sharks. That's what always springs to mind. When people say, "Oh, tell me a fact." I am obsessed, and I've been cage diving. However, I would still love to just see one from a plane or a bridge or a yacht. So I'm always on the lookout if I'm in an area where there could be any.
Yeah, that is definitely a fun fact. In Florida, when they see them, they're not that excited to see them.
No,
So.
yeah, they're sad, but being from the UK, that would be my absolute dream. So yeah, whenever I go to Miami, I'm always on the lookout. Although
Yeah,
they're rarer there than obviously other places. So
your biggest dream, my biggest fear. I've had nightmares
yeah.
about this. So. But tell me something else. Maybe you have a hobby, because, well, that's a fun fact to connect. Because I always think like, if I know this person well enough, the next time I see them at a networking event, I can bring up, "Hey, I saw a white shark the other day."
Yeah.
But give us something else, maybe.
Oh, what's something else? Um, I consider myself a bit of an amateur property developer. So I've developed my last two houses quite successfully, with a good percentage increase on their value. So I would love to do a church at some point, but I have not found the right one. And they're a lot of work. So whether I will ever get there, I don't know, but I would like to.
That's really interesting. Would you want it to continue to be a church, or you just want the bones of the church and convert it into something else?
Bones of the church that you convert it into something else. But legally, if the church is attached to a graveyard in the UK, you have to give permission to a family of deceased individuals that could want to come and visit. So even if you own the church or you become the owner of the church and it is then turned into a residential property, you do still have to share those access rights, which I thought was quite interesting. So you need to make a decision whether it's one that's attached to a grave or not.
Yeah, that is interesting. Is it a majority of them that they have graveyards or not really?
Mixed in the UK. Yeah, not all, not all. So if you had one that was kind of a central, well, not even necessarily based on their location, but not all churches in the UK have graveyards.
Well, I'm very, very happy that I pushed for a second fact. Uh,
Yeah.
and the last question, my favorite question of the show is, what advice will you tell yourself? What do you wish you had known when you started yachting on your first day?
Yeah, so I think obviously it's a little bit different for me having not been aboard, but I think what I wish I'd have known last year was that boat show weather can be unpredictable. So we had some absolute disasters with the weather last year. Um, Palm Beach was just a crazy, crazy wet day that day. We had no like wet weather gear with us. Monaco, it was the rainiest Monaco on record, I think, for like 7 or 8 years. Somebody had told me that they hadn't seen weather like that. We had some really extreme heat on the first day in Antigua. And yeah, I was just like, wow, this is a lot. And also I was worried about in Palm Beach, I was worried about my team getting heat stroke. That's what I was concerned about. And then we all were like literally almost coming down with the flu because we were so wet and so cold and our backs were aching. And yeah, we bought the old Dollar Tree ponchos and we're borrowing umbrellas from our from our boat clients who were very kind to lend them. So yeah, it was quite a stressful time, but a different kind of stress, to obviously, trying to ensure that the company's performing. It was a weather related stress that I wasn't expecting. So that's probably why it was an issue. I wasn't expecting it. And I am a bit of a planner and a thinker. So it got me.
I'm a bit of a planner too. It's not my first show, and I got washed away at Palm Beach. Same in Monaco. I do remember those 2 days. In Palm Beach, I didn't have the contacts you have with the umbrellas. So I went to a stand and someone gave me a hat. That was basically my umbrella. And then
Yeah,
someone saw me all wet and they gave me a
yeah.
poncho when I was walking the dog. Thank you so much for your time. Before we wrap up, I want to know if there's any project that you're working on that you want to share, or if you want to dive into telling us how can we stay tuned, how can we follow along on the success of Yotspot.
Absolutely. So if you're interested in using Yotspot, obviously visit the website. From an employer or a crew perspective, that's where you head. I'd love you to follow us on social media. So we're on all of the usual social channels, kind of Instagram and LinkedIn being our two key ones. And big projects that we're working on at the moment. So we're developing AI within the platform, and we're also looking at our functionality, easy for me to say, from both a shore-based perspective. So we're looking at how we can develop our system to make it easier for shore-based employers to use it, and shore-based potential employees, and also for estates as well. So for like high net worth individuals. So that's our focus for the next few months.
Well, great. We'll be sure to follow along. All of the website, social media, and usernames will be found in the description below of wherever you're listening or watching this episode. So feel free to follow along. Thank you, Danielle, so much for your time, and I can't wait to see you at the next show.
Yeah, see you there. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Yacht Femme. If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and comment. Your comment will help us reach a broader audience. And don't miss the next episode. Bye!